In today's video, we're going to be talking about Saddlemen seats, but we're not going to be talking about a road sofa or a step-up seat for your touring motorcycles. Guys, my name is Rick and this is the HDVIBE channel. Today's video, I'm actually going to talk about probably what I think is one of the most underrated Saddlemen seats in their lineup, and it's really a seating system. And what I'm going to do is tell you all about that, tell you about all the different components, compare that to another seat that's sold and it seems to be very popular by Ciro and is much more expensive, and we'll also then give you the breakdown of each of the components of this seat system. And we'll get into all that right after this. So that's right, guys, we're not talking about some of my favorite Saddlemen seats, the road sofa or the step-up, but this one could be close to, if not one of my favorites, and that is a seating system that Saddlemen has that is very comparable and has been out for much longer than the ASR series from Ciro. So guys, what we're going to be talking about today is the Dominator seating system that I have here on the 2021 CVO Street Glide. What I want to start off with, guys, is my riding experience after having run this seat on the CVO Street Glide, and I've also run the same seat on the Street Glide ST, because if you've been around the channel, you know both of those stock seats, they're horrible. And I literally, as soon as I got both of those bikes home from the dealership, I took them off and put Saddlemen seats on there because I just could not stand it. So I have put well over, I would say, between 7,000 and 9,000 miles between the two bikes on this seating system. So I think I can give you a pretty good perspective based upon my experience. This is a really, really comfortable seat that I really enjoy riding with. So this Dominator seat system really comes in a series of components. But for the touring series, they actually all have gel core in the main seat itself and also in the pillion, which those are actually purchased separately and bolt onto the bike separately. The first way you can actually run this is solo, and what I want to do is take you over to the Street Glide ST and show you what the solo setup looks like. So guys, here's the solo seat setup that I have on the Street Glide ST. I'll kind of come back here a little bit, but as you can see, solo setup, it actually bolts into the two bolts that are here on your fender. And if you, as you know, the Street Glide ST comes as a solo setup, so I really like this as a great replacement for the stock seat, which again was horrible. And as you can see, this one, the Dominator, this is the low profile standard reach. They also have an extended reach for you longer legged or taller riders. It has this carbon fiber here. I went with the silver stitch, and if you look at this against the white sand pearl of the bike, that silver stitch almost appears to be white, but it really is silver. It does have a pretty high lumbar here, and it has the gel all the way through here, and it is very narrow in through here coming up to the tank, and much narrower than the stock seats, which come out to about right here, and make this seating much wider. So with this bike having 13-inch stock shocks from Harley-Davidson on it, this gives you the opportunity to get your legs in closer, which means for those that are a little bit shorter in the inseam, you can get those feet flat-footed without any problem. So the other cool thing about this is, you can see right back here, this actually has, for your backrest, everything is built in, so you don't have to bolt anything onto the seat, and that is a nice feature on these Saddlemen seats that most seats, like Harley-Davidson seats, for instance, you got to bolt a piece on here and you got to worry about it scratching your fender and all the like. This is all built in into the seat, and I'll show you the backrest and how that goes on in just a minute here. Not a super wide seat, but I kind of like the width for my size. And then it has this channel here. And this is very similar again to the ASR that Ciro puts out. But this channel actually relieves and doesn't allow pressure to get on your tailbone, and it also allows for some airflow to come up here. So if you're touring on this thing for long distances, this is a great option. And I actually toured with this seat in Sturgis over a 5-day period and rode about 1,200 miles actually on the CVO, the Street Glide CVO, the 2021, with the full system on it. And I'm going to go over to the CVO now and show you what that looks like. All right, so we're over here at the CVO now, and I've got the full system set up here. So we've got this solo seat. Again, this is the low profile regular reach, and then they have the Dominator with the extended reach, which will push you back probably another 1.5 inches to give you between here and the tank. So then now I've got the backrest in here, and so this is a little different setup. As you can see, I've got the pillion hooked in here, and essentially, and I'll show you one that I don't have on there, but it just slips into those nuts that are underneath here and then bolts down onto your fender with the seat nut in the back, just as if you had a complete 2-up seat on the bike. And then the last piece I have back here, this is something new that I've recently, Saddlemen sent out to me. This is the chopped Tour Pack back pad. So it matches exactly with that carbon fiber, same silver stitch, as well as that channel to kind of run through here. And you've got that channel and that pillion as well. So overall gives you a really, really good look, I think, with that matching system. So I mentioned the backrest just a few minutes ago. As you can see, this thing just slips in and out very easily. And there is actually a slot in the pillion here that this slides through. And as I said, when we were over on the ST in the solo setup, there's also a slot in the seat, and all of the metal or the hardware is actually built in there. And so essentially you just kind of slide this in and you kind of get a feel for where that slot is, and then you just push it down and then it kind of locks itself in place. And then you can also adjust this. There's some bolts in the back that you can get the angle just right for what you, how you want this set up for your riding style. My, what a difference, especially when you're going to be on the bike for a long time during a day, logging some big miles. This is just a really welcome relief to the back. All right, so a little bit more about my experience. I mentioned I rode with that in Sturgis. I've been riding with that on this bike for well over a year now. Like I said, I probably got 8,000, maybe even more miles between the two bikes. As you can see, these seats look, on both cases, they look like they're brand new. They've been in rain, they've been in sun, they've been in dust and dirty conditions and on long rides. No tears, no rips. They look just almost as good as they did when they came out of the box. So from a comfort perspective, again, I was on this seat for 4, 5, 6, 7 hours in a day when we were riding in Sturgis. No issues whatsoever. Very comfortable seating position for me. Again, this is the low profile version. There's a regular with a extended reach. This is the regular reach. It actually puts me, from my perspective, again, I'm 5'10". I have about a 32-inch inseam. This puts me in a great riding position from a handlebar and a rider triangle perspective. I'm very comfortable with that seat. And honestly, probably one of the most comfortable seats I've ridden with this system with the backrest. So now I showed you a little bit ago the solo setup that I run on the ST. And I've run in that configuration for almost 5,000 miles on that bike. And even in that configuration, probably more riding it around town, shorter trips, 2-3 hour trips at any given time. And also doing slow speed maneuvers with that seat on that bike, and it works really well. So again, that bike sits up a little bit higher than this bike, but that seat, even though it's a little bit more, it's a little thicker than the stock seat, which I hated that seat. I think I mentioned that earlier. But running with that, it's again super comfortable, and it doesn't push me up off the ground too far. I can still flat foot that bike, no problem whatsoever, and I actually have some knee bend, especially if I've even got my riding shoes on or even my boots. No problem whatsoever. And again, I'm about like 32 inseam, flat footed, and then if I put my shoes on, I'm probably 33. If I put my boots on, probably 34. So no issues with that. And I think I've actually measured in other videos from a laden seat height with the bike sitting level. That seat sits at about under 29 inches from the ground to the seat. So if you're 28, 29 inseam, you probably can still flat foot even with that seat on it. All right, so let's go over the pricing of these components. As I said at the onset, you don't have to buy all of this at one time. It's kind of a mix and match if you want. So if you want just the solo seat itself, Currently, as of the release of this video, this is at $328. So if you wanted to add this backrest, and again, this automatically comes with everything built in, you just have to buy this. That as, again, about $165 currently from Saddlemen. Then if you want to go and add this pillion, so you have a couple different options. The one I have on here, and I'll get you a little closer shot of that, is actually the sport pillion. There's also a touring one, which is a little bit wider in the back, which is probably more comfortable for your passenger, but I rarely, if ever, ride with a passenger, so Saddlemen sent out the sport version of that for me, and that comes in at about $180. I'll have links to all this down in the description so you get the exact amount in case I misspeak as to the amounts, the dollar cost for these, but I think I'm pretty much on point. But again, check the description, I'll have all of the details down there. Then you have the Chop Tour Pack backrest pad that we have right back up here. The gentleman recently sent out to me to put onto my Tour Pack, the Chop Tour Pack on the CVO. That comes in at $200 for that. I'm going to get the backrest for the King Tour Pack to match all of this system. That comes in at $300. So if you went with this configuration, the total package, all of these pieces again, the solo seat, the pillion, this backrest, and the Chop back pad on your Tour Pack, that would come in at $873. If you had the King Tour Pack and you went with the King backrest on the Tour Pack, then you're $100 more at $973. And these are all made to order, and I will tell you every tag on every one of my Saddlemen seats that I purchased or they have sent to me all has my name on it. So they're individually made. Now if you do buy them from Amazon or some other seller, a distributor of Saddlemen products, it will have that company's name on them. But if you order direct from Saddlemen, you can also change the stitching colors, the Saddlemen logo color, and you can change up a few things. There's a few added $10 here, $20 there to kind of do some of that customization. Again, they're made individually for you, so it takes a little time. They usually quote a 4 to 6 week lead time. I think in all cases I've gotten these well under 4 weeks. It just depends on how busy they are, the time of the year and the season. But Saddlemen is always great about getting them out. So one thing I talked about at the onset was there's another seat that looks very similar to this that has not been out as long, and that is the ASR seat system sold by Ciro 3D. And it was actually created by Adam Sandoval, and I know he probably created a great seat. It does have gel just like the Saddlemen. It has the channel in the middle so that you don't get pressure on your tailbone, and you get that airflow coming up through your butt down there so you don't get the swamp butt. So very, very similar, and even now it's perforated in here, which I think you would get actually water into that. This is not perforated, so you don't need a cover. I've gotten this thing wet, and it's no issue whatsoever. It doesn't hold water, at least that I've experienced. ASR, I don't believe, has Tour Pack pads or backrest. So in their system, you can get 3 pieces. You can get the seat, the pillion, and the backrest. That's $1,120. Again, $1,120 versus, as I have it set up with here, $873. If I took $200 off of there, we're at $673 versus $1,120. So almost double the price for a seat that's been in the market for longer, and I think is one of the most underrated, under-talked about, one of the most comfortable seats, the most configurable seats that's in the Saddlemen lineup that I think more people need to know about, and more people should try it out on their bike. Guys, if you got some value out of this video, please give it a thumbs up. Also consider sharing this with your friends and the like-minded individuals who might want to think about or learn more about this Saddlemen Dominator seating system. Can check this out and learn more about that. Also, if you haven't subscribed, hit that button right down here. I'd really appreciate it. And when you do subscribe, leave a comment down below saying I subscribe so I can personally reach out and thank you for supporting the channel. Also, don't forget to hit the bell icon and select all so you do get notified every time I do put out new content. I have over 250 videos on tips, tricks, rides, reviews, installs on Harley-Davidson touring motorcycles, as well as motorcycle slow speed skills. So there's bound to be something you learn more about a product like we talked about today. You may get a discount code. You may find a product that's very similar or equivalent to a Harley-Davidson product for much less cost. You may have a discount code. Unfortunately, I don't have a discount code, but as I showed you, if you're thinking about the ASR or this Saddlemen seat, you can save half the cost by going with Saddlemen seat here versus the ASR. Again, 1120 versus 673. Huge savings on this, what I think is a really underrated seat in the Saddlemen lineup. One of the most comfortable I run in all types of conditions. Drop some comments down below so to start the conversation about this Dominator, or what other Saddlemen seats have you found to be comfortable? Have you tried this one out? What about the road sofa? What about the step up? All for your touring bikes. All I have from my perspective is touring, so that's all I can talk about. So share that in the community. So with that, I want to leave you with this thought. Life is short. Get out and ride the bike. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye now.